All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I'm your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. Today, we will continue our investigation of the passage chamber reactor mounds of ancient Japan, and you will get your first glimpse at the immense, perplexing structures known as Kofun. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, this is the channel for you, so please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned. If you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage that you will not see anywhere else, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com. If you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch, both linked in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to Let's Go with Lex and G so you don't miss out on the rest of the amazing content from our Japan adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro, so without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. And just a quick announcement, the Land of Chem members only channel episode 17 is now available, presenting an absolutely massive revelation, connecting the ancient lightning technology of Japan with an artifact from ancient Egypt known as the Djed Pillar. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you want access to this type of exclusive content and unreleased footage, please join the Land of Chem members only channel, link in the video description below. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you enjoy Sunday Site Visit 84, Passage Chamber Reactor Mounds, Part 2, and a glimpse into the mysterious keyhole Kofun.
All right, so today we're going to be exploring several of these so-called quote-unquote Kofun tumulus, or I guess the plural being tumuli. I will henceforth refer to them as passage chamber mounds. And take a look at this one. Looking very much like a stepped pyramid. And it's the mound that you can see here in front of us. And we just parked. I'm not going to show my homie's license plate here. But here it is. Nothing really remaining of the stepped pyramid. However, this one does have this container still in place. And from what I can see here, it doesn't look to be very deep. And it certainly doesn't look to be very long. It's more of a square shape than a rectangle. You can see the protrusions, or the lifting bosses, rather, the more accurate term, on the sides of the lid here. So at the previous site, this stone was described as being volcanic tuff. It's a volcanic ash type stone. All of the large stones of the chamber itself are granite. guide at the previous site, or the, I don't want to say guide, but the guy that was inside the chamber giving the explanation of the structure, said that at most of these sites the water channel is hidden underneath the floor. And why would you want to have a water channel going into your burial site? And I can't say that I see anything that resembles a stepped pyramid. It's just kind of a mound. But apparently that is the original configuration. Pretty cool. And you know, there's a modern, we're literally on a road, and you just pull up right to the front of this thing. So it's very difficult to say you know, in regard to the reservoir or source of water. That is to be determined, but this is just the, I mean, we're literally 2-minute drive. The other one was over here. This one's here. For water, there's a river that runs through here, yeah. It's all agricultural farmland. Still has the container in there. Again, pretty much the same configuration as we just saw. Huge pieces of granite. And there's the inner chamber again. All right, on to the next one that you can see up here, which is a restoration, or I don't want to say replica, but I think it's a full restoration, remodeling of what these structures would have originally looked like. And it's that shining silver structure on the top of the mound here. And Tara, what was the name of this one?
Good question.
Good question, yeah. We visited a lot of these things today.
Okay, it's called Kengoshizuka Kofun. Did you get that?
Yeah, Kengoshizuka Kofun.
Yeah.
Here at the top. And I'll resume when we get a little bit closer. All right. And getting to the top here. Here we are. There's a little video presentation area. We'll skip that. And get right to business up here. All right. So this stone, again, pretty awesome view from up here. Stone here is volcanic tuff, and this is the material that was originally used for the casing stone of this pyramid structure. So we'll walk around the outside here so you can get a look. Again, this is a reconstruction. The original site was in such a deteriorated state that they decided to rebuild it. And there's another one very close to here. Yeah, so again, this is just talking about the different structures. There's a whole bunch of these pyramid. This one's described as being an octagonal tumulus. These Kofun structures, these pyramid shaped constructions. This thing is pretty crazy looking.
So it's tough stone, and inside these walls are quartz andesite.
Okay, quartz andesite on the inside. And tuft also has quartz. Yep. And I think here they have at least some of the original core of the structure. Yep. I'd love to get down there if this lady wasn't here. We climb over this little fence, take a look down in there, have a look-see. Oh, there is also a security camera right there, so probably, yeah. And they frown on breaking the rules here in Japan. It's not like Egypt. Huh?
America.
Egypto. Egypto. Hi.
Piramidto.
Hi, hi. Yes, yes.
Piramidto. Egyptoから来はった。
I just told him we were from Egypt. Oh, piramido, piramido. So, pretty cool site. And there's another one, you know, less than a kilometer away from here that I think we're going to go check this out. And this will actually give me a chance to smoke a cigar. I have one in my pocket today. See what's at the top of this thing. Well, it's all in Japanese. But I'm pretty sure this is just pointing out all of the ancient tumulus and other sites that are here in this area. We've already visited several today. That's a pretty cool shot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we're out here today exploring a site known as Saitobaro. And this entire field here and this general area is just filled with burial mounds. And I don't disagree with that conventional interpretation that most of these mounds are definitely burials. However, there is one in particular, the structure that you can see right in front of me here, that is different than all of the rest. It is the only one that has a passage chamber system, like the ones that we've been discussing across the UK. And it also has a very distinct external reservoir system. This ridge that you can see here around the outside. Take a look at this little thing here. And the name of this one, the Ini no Iwaya.
Oni.
Oni no Iwaya.
Yes. Oni means demon.
And as you heard Tara just saying there, that Oni signifies demon or monster. And it even says here, the quote-unquote burial mound has 2 surrounding moats. So that does confirm, here we go. So it has 2 surrounding moats. So that's not just my concept of calling these things a reservoir. The conventional archaeology does agree that both the Kofun and this particular quote-unquote burial mound did have a reservoir enclosure surrounding the structure. Interesting here, the stone chamber is thought to have been used to intern 3 different people at different times. And based on the folklore, the ogre, the demon, made the burial chamber for his lost love. So there's certainly some interesting mythology surrounding the structure. So you can see the external enclosure here, earthwork enclosure. Cool. This reminds me very much of Figsbury Ring.
Oh, for sure.
When you get up, I'm talking to my lovely wife Alexa, Ancient Odysseys. We had a very early plane flight this morning from Osaka
That's right.
to Miyazaki. So now we're in Miyazaki, southern Japan.
I like it here.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. Hawaiian island vibes, and palm trees and flowers on people's shirts at the airport. So we're gonna walk around the outside here just because I'm curious to look at this other opening over here, the one that doesn't have the staircase. And we'll walk down in here in just a second because we can access the inside of the structure. And if I didn't tell you where we were, you would think that we were somewhere in the UK or Ireland looking at this thing. But we're not in Kansas anymore, we're in Japan. So there is absolutely a connection. Interesting. All right, so we'll walk down there and check this out. And really distinct and substantial enclosure. This thing that we're standing on here is it's a a task in it of itself to build this. Yeah, might as well walk around the whole thing.
Yeah, let's do it. Should we take our shoes off?
Yeah, let's do that. It's nice grass out here, so we're going to take our shoes off. Oh, that does feel nice. After being on a plane all morning in the airport. And I think this is the second one over there in the series because there's two of these mounds that are connected. The second one is right over here. And as you saw on the little guidepost, I mean, at least the conventional archaeology here agrees with my proposal that these enclosures were water-filled moats, as they call them. I prefer the term reservoir, but same. All right. And so now that we have circumambulated the structure, I'm gonna go inside. And it was really cool to see one of these things in kind of its unadulterated state. As you saw at the beginning of this series, we went over some train tracks into some guy's backyard and explored one of these passage chamber mounds that is not, you know, a public tourist site. I don't know if I want to walk inside this thing with no shoes on, but all Alright, so inside the enclosure now. And hang on for 1 sec and we're going to go inside. All right, here we go. So now there definitely has been restoration in this chamber, so it's not in its completely original state like the one we saw before, but I do like these restorations because they are attempting to do justice to the original condition of the structure. So these paving stones aren't original. And I mean, it's just like Newgrange or any of the other passage chamber structures. So, the inner chamber. And I got the very distinct feeling like I was walking into Newgrange when I was walking through the passage.
These don't have the windows. The air.
Right? But the entrance is much taller.
Yeah, that's true.
So even if this thing was filled up with water just a small amount, you'd have plenty of airflow. We're just discussing the lintel component and the air intake shaft at Newgrange. And the structures we saw at Carrowkeel also had those similar components.
Oh, yes.
But the opening into the passage is much smaller in those. And if water was filling the lower half, you would need to have a separate area for the air intake. So I just want to walk around here and walk through this area here. This is just discussing the construction of the embankment, the perimeter enclosure here. About 5.5 meters tall. And again, this is a partition in between the exterior and the interior reservoirs. Hi, konnichiwa. Hey, little dog.
Kocha.
Want to say hi?
Kocha.
Hey, buddy. He's famous now. Tell him in Japanese his dog will be famous on YouTube now.
今 YouTube の動画撮ってるんで、ワンちゃんが有名になりますよって。
ありがとうございます。 保護犬なんですよこの人。
え？
保護犬。
あ、そうなんだ。
はい。もうずっと保護犬しか飼わないんで、引退したやつをだから先代は10年、17歳。はい、見えないですけどね。
ありがとうございます。So, and this massive park in this huge areas is filled with these things. Most of them being burial mounds. But this one has some features and some unique components that certainly make it very distinct from the rest of them. So as I was saying to Alex and Taro, I'm certainly not trying to desecrate the legacy of these burial mounds, but when I see functional components, it is indicative of something perhaps earlier that was later repurposed or reimagined for burial purposes. Because we were looking at some of the other ones and they were saying how there was a burial at the core of the structure, and then later at the top surface of the mound they found other layers of burials. So these sites have absolutely been repurposed over time with more intrusive burials inside of the structure.
And these moat layers made of a black soil and the volcanic ash, but in layers, not mixed, but sort of mixed in layers.
So I think that's also important. We were watching, well, I'm not going to spoil it here on camera, but we're going to have a behind the scenes discussion about why the volcanic ash and the other volcanic material having different mineral compositions may have been alternated. Stay tuned for more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And this is your first look at a Kofun. This one here referred to as the Goshi-Kizuka tumulus. And you can see the massive reservoir enclosure. And this is the conventional explanation of this component. It is definitely a reservoir, and you'll see some diagrams of these structures that show the reservoir enclosure basically surrounded by a huge lake. And this is a reconstruction. Most of these Kofun structures in Japan are now covered in trees, so it just looks like a huge mound, and there's not a lot to see. So this is the first one that we visited that has been fully reconstructed and maintained to represent the original construction. So now we're going to walk around and find the entrance to this little park area, and you can actually go up on this thing, and at the top we'll see you on the other side. All right, so now coming around the other side, and you can see this part here. So there's sort of two features of these monuments. You have the circular part here, and then a flared shape at the bottom. And these are also referred to as keyhole tombs, because if you look at the aerial view of a Kofun, it very much resembles a keyhole with a circular shape and then a flared, flattened area at the bottom. This also appears to be a mound of some sort. They have tons of mounds. Another one here, yeah.
This is a circular shape. and they found a couple of haniwa with the fin.
Okay.
You know, the one we saw.
And hopefully I've remembered to put in some of the pictures at the beginning of the episode from the Kofun museums that we've visited thus far, so you have a little bit of an orientation on these structures. There's a good little stone carved diagram here at the entrance, so you can see what they look like and why they're referred to as keyhole tombs. All right, so this is what this thing looks like from the aerial view. Again, the circular structure here in the center, and then the long flattened platform so this is basically what we're looking at here, is the circular mound here, and then the flattened area here. And these things at the top have been a subject of great debate thus far during our expedition and our visits to the museum, trying to decipher the meaning and potential function of these things. They're called haniwa, and you'll see them at the top of the structure. I'm still on the fence about my belief regarding the conventional explanation for these things. Again, here's another little diagram. And a number of Kofun have been excavated, and they do have a central chamber, the inside of the mound, in which large containers, very similar to what we find in the Egyptian pyramids, have been discovered. A number of burial related artifacts, etc. But it was confirmed during several museum visits that no physical bodies have been discovered in these burial mounds, the result of later grave robbery, etc., dated to around the 13th century. Teruth, is that correct? They were saying those the grave robbing was around the 13th century. Yeah, 13th century is when they proposed that these structures were broken into and the burial itself was removed from the structure. There have also been a number of earthquakes and volcanoes in Japan that have caused collapse of the internal mound, and a lot of the containers themselves were found in multiple pieces. Interesting side note, again, I'll try to put some pictures in at the beginning of the episode so you can see this, that the interior of some of these containers found inside of these Kofun were painted with cinnabar, or rather a cinnabar based paint, which is a red mercury ore. And I say red as in red color, not the mythological quote-unquote red mercury, which is a topic for another episode one day. You can see there's this mound over here. This flattened mound is another Kofun structure. And when we get to the top, we should have a pretty amazing view of the sea from here.
Yes.
We are now in Kobe? Hyogo Prefecture, but I think we're close to the city of Kobe.
Oh, this is actually Kobe City.
Kobe City, yeah. So again, we've traveled across the country of Japan so much. It's crazy. I forget all the cities. So again, these are the Haniwa. Man, they've done a really good job at restoring this thing. It's cool to be able to... The other ones that we've visited thus far basically look like a mound of trees. It really doesn't look like much of anything. And they're so overgrown and unmaintained that you wouldn't really even know. Wow, look at that. You wouldn't even know that you were on top of an ancient structure. That's why I haven't really recorded much of it, because there's not too much to see. It just looks like a mound of trees. But these things are huge, and you can see them all over the place as we've been driving around. You look off into the distance and there's this huge mound with this very unusual shape covered with trees, and it's a Kofun. I think the count is 160,000 of these Kofun structures discovered all across Japan, various sizes. No consistent cardinal direction orientation in terms of north, south, east, west. They aren't specifically oriented in a particular direction.
So you see Osaka over there. That's our island.
Okay.
It's so big.
Pretty beautiful view. But the view is not why we're here. We're here to look at this thing. All right, so the Haniwa ceramic pottery. And the conventional explanation for these things, so there's been a long evolution in the style and shape of Haniwa. They used to have little vessels on top, and this is more of a pedestal or a stand for these vessel type containers. And they were much smaller, and then they got bigger and bigger and bigger, becoming these circular or cylindrical rather shapes. And then these little fan type things were added later, again becoming more elaborate constructions. I'll put in some pictures of the different shape ones that we found. And the conventional story is twofold. First, they're ceremonial offerings, and also they're intended as a, you know, somewhat of a fence to go around the exterior of the Kofun. Again, I'm not really too huge a proponent of that explanation. They're doing a little seaside photo shoot there at the end of the mound. So this is inclined, sloping up this way. This is the original configuration. And then heading toward the top of the mound. These things are made of relatively small river rocks. I don't think these are original stones. They're just intended to replicate what the original stones, the ones we've seen in the museum, are a little bit different and bigger. But so if you were to take 6 of these and make one big river stone, that's the size of the ones that they show in the museum. But they're not like huge blocks. They're all relatively manageable. sized stones. And all described as river stones, which could have a variety of different types of stone. That's beautiful. So you can see these other two platform structures. There's one here, and there would have been another one here that flank the structure inside of the reservoir. And the reservoir is an accurate archaeological term. They do know that these things were filled with water. They're basically inside of a artificial lake. Again, this thing diagram here, it's all in Japanese. Thankfully we have Teru with us to read this, talking about the Haniwa. And the top of the structure here. So down in the center of this mound is where the container is located, or was located at the structure. So this is your first look at a really good recreation of an ancient Japanese Kofun. And these were built during the Kofun period, 300 to around 600 BC? 80. 80.
About 350 years window.
Yep. So very, very old, but not ancient. However, there are some really interesting details that we've discovered about these things that'll be coming up in a series of research episodes focusing on these structures. This is just your first opportunity to see one of these immense monuments. And a pretty nice view. The Japanese Kofun.
Yes.
The keyhole, quote-unquote, tombs to be further evaluated. And these Haniwa, which I'm, again, still skeptical of the conventional explanation. This is just some drone footage from inside of this little museum, so you can see the whole scale of this structure. It's hard to assess the size of the monument when you're standing, you know, on top of it here, but you can see how big this thing is.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was Sunday Site Visit 84, Passage Chamber Reactor Mounds, Part 2. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, the moment you all have been waiting for, an up-close investigation of the absolutely bewildering Masuda Iwafane, otherwise known as the Masuda Rock Ship. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, click that little notification bell, like, comment, and stay tuned. If you want to help support the channel, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com, both linked in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to Let's Go with Lex and G so you don't miss out on the rest of the fantastic content from our Japan adventure and our adventures across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.